This is Tennessee Talks with United States Congressman Tim Burchett.
Hello, I'm Congressman Tim Burchett, and welcome back to Tennessee Talks. I'm glad to be joined for this episode by Mr. Bill Weigel, the chairman of Weigel's Convenience Stores. And I guess I should say he's been a longtime friend of me and my family. My dad was a big fan of his, so that makes me a big fan of his. Is all anything about my family. But this family-owned business has been based in East Tennessee for over 90 years. And today there are over 60 Weigel's locations throughout the region and more on the way. And I will note that they're about the cleanest dadgum stores I've ever been in. The bathrooms, every time, I didn't think about stuff like that, Mr. Weigel, until I was married and had a daughter. And you watch that stuff up pretty close, and dadgum, you keep your stores nice. And of course, its stores provide folks with fuel and quick shopping when they are on the go. And Weigel's is always actively giving back to the local community through its Weigel's Family Christmas, and something that's close to me. And if you've got a family with veterans, it's the Smoky Mountain Service Dogs programs. And Mr. Weigel, I want to thank you for joining Tennessee Talks, and it's really great to have you on the show today, brother.
Thank you, Tim.
Inflation rose to 8.5% in March of 2022, as I'm sure you're very much aware. And of course, compared to March of 2021, according to the most recent data. How are these rising prices impacting your business? I mean, it has to impact the bottom line as well. And of course, the price of fuel as well.
It's pretty much a negative all the way around, Tim. People right now are just can't afford anything except absolute necessities. Our inside sales are down. Our food sales are down. Our gasoline sales are down because they can't drive anymore as much. So it's a big impact on all businesses right now. People do not have the money. The inflation takes it away from them. So
sure, I do notice when I fill up at your pumps, people, they'll round it off. They're just going to put $30 worth in, which are $20, and you watch them instead of just turning the pumps on and letting them go till it fills up. And that's my indicator. And of course, it's a good place for me to politic is at your pumps when I'm filling up. And I tell you, people are angry. They are really, really angry. And I remind them, I say, well, those elections are rolling around, y'all. Y'all need to remember this now. But I wonder, the gasoline prices, of course, are a huge issue here in East Tennessee. And of course, Washington, they can't get it right. And I can't go anywhere without anybody asking me about what I'm doing about the problem. Can you share with folks here how gasoline is priced and what the process is for getting it to your stores? I know we have these hearings, and honestly, members of Congress show their ignorance usually because the profit is razor thin. I guess your C stores, which are your convenience stores. If you could maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, Tim, our price is based on the cost of our purchases for our crude oil. And then in addition that we have to pay the freight to get it to our stores. So when crude goes up, our gas price goes up accordingly. In addition to that, now that we have increase in freight levels, our freight goes up. So right now, Master and Visa card have kind of a monopoly on credit card fees. So our credit card fees now will be about $11 million this year. And they were $4.5 million last year. So obviously that's a big impact on anybody selling petroleum.
Right. And you just have to pass that on to the consumer, or how does that work?
Well, you do, but unfortunately, with the credit card fees going up, and people in our business price every day and put our price in front of our store, so it's a very competitive business. So when prices are going up, all people selling gasoline at the retail level are just don't like to go up. So when prices are going up, your margin goes down because you fail to go up with the cost as quickly. So that plus the increase in credit card fees right now, credit card fees are about 8 cents a gallon. So 8 cents of every gallon you pay goes to a credit card company. So that used to be 4 cents. So that's another impact on profits. So right now it's a very competitive situation and very hard on people selling the petroleum.
Yes, sir. Seems like the oil companies are always the punching bag, and maybe they deserve it, maybe they don't. I always, when they come before Congress, they explain it very well, and even I understand it with my limited knowledge, I guess, of the issue. But I always wish they would get ahead of that, roll that out, what's really going on ahead of what's happening. But it's very difficult for them to do it because they're the billion-dollar oil companies. Of course, it's if you know anything about oil and production and the permitting process, it's a very expensive process, and it's not just one permit. It's some of them, I think, 15 permits that they'd have to get by the time it hits from the ground to the pump. So it's a very heavily regulated industry. I'm wondering, do you think it's fair that folks will criticize the big oil companies for high gas prices?
Not exactly, Tim. Their prices are based on crude oil. We sell based on the gasoline that the refiners sell us. So when crude goes up, their prices go up. And just like our industry, when crude is low, they barely make a profit on gasoline. When crude goes higher, their profits go up because naturally their expenses don't go up as fast as the price of crude. So they suffer when crude is low and don't make a profit, and then they make a bigger profit when crude goes up. So naturally that's up and down. You got to have the ups to go with the downs, or you won't make it in their business. So it's not exactly fair because they don't sell gasoline. We sell gasoline.
Yeah, that's right. That is accurate. It's not in my notes, but I was wondering if you could tell the folks how your all's company was actually started and who started it and where and when. I'm just kind of curious about your all's history.
Well, we started as a farm dairy in 1931, and my grandfather was a truck farmer, raised vegetables, and sold them at Market Square out of the back of his truck. And then when my dad was 20 years old, he bought 4 cows. And when I was a child, we were half young fella. I was half the vegetables and half milk. And as the milk grew, the vegetables went away. And by that was 1931, while we became a dairy and started selling milk and home delivery. And at that point, we were a home delivery company up until about the 1960s. And when the housewife went to work, there was nobody at home to take care of the milk. So at that point, we had a dairy that was paid for and no customers. So then we had a farm, and to make it, we started subdividing the farm and building homes on it. My dad did. And since we had the dairy, when I was 21 years old, I got back and started trying to do drive-through milk stores to try to sell the milk. And you drive through and get milk, and that's all we sold. Well, after about 4 years, that didn't work. So I built a walk-in milk store, and we didn't know there was no such word as convenience store back then. So I ended up going to the 3rd annual convenience store convention in Washington, D.C., and stayed with a fraternity brother of mine that was in the Navy. Found out that they were open 7 in the morning, closed at 11 at night. And I was open 10 o'clock for the housewife to get her milk. So I just grew into that. And then in 2007, we had the first self-service gas steam pumps in Knoxville. And it just grew. We learned as we went. Made a lot of mistakes, but we learned.
Yeah.
Now we're in the convenience store business.
Say that again.
Now we're in the convenience store business.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, you do a good job of it. That's always what we always look for, is that big red W up there. That's where as you and I've talked many times, we got that diesel truck, and it's always good. You always have it on the outside too. I guess the Burchetts are coming through with that horse trailer. You don't want to.
We won't have plenty. We won't have you have plenty of room.
Yeah, they do
Besides,
that.
filling a tank cost $100. Used to, we had a limit that we'd cut off. Now we've raised our limit to cut it off at $200. So
Wow.
it's double.
I expect some of those big doolies will take it. Well, shifting gears again, your company, as I mentioned earlier, runs two charity programs: the Weigel's Family Christmas, which benefits children in need during the holiday season. I believe you've always had that, haven't you? That's something along those
we
lines.
started that about 20 some years ago. And my children were in for vacation from school, and I've been on the board of the Salvation Army for about 40 years now. And I asked them to take 6 Salvation Army children shopping, gave them $600, $100 for each child. They took them to the Target on Clinton Highway, right next to our home office. And that was our first kind of Weigel Family Christmas. The next year, we had 30 Salvation Army children. And now it's 24 years now. Now it's grown to 250 Salvation Army children. Each child gets $150. It takes about 350 chaperones to take care of those 250 children. So a lot of people in our community and in our company have to put together a big deal. And so we get them to there. We give them breakfast in the morning, take them shopping, and then bring them back for lunch. And then their parents come back and get them after we give them all their presents.
Right.
It's a big deal for us.
It's a big deal. That's a huge deal. I bet those kids are excited. Probably better people with the kid, taking the kids probably get more out of it than the kids.
That's the biggest day of my life, and about the same for all the people in our company.
Yes, sir. Also, you do the Smoky Mountain Service Dogs. Touch on that just for a minute about what that does.
Well, they came to visit us when they first started, and they brought their dog, and I walked into the conference room to meet them. And the first thing I did, of course, I love dogs. I started to pet the dog, and they said, "Well, can't pet a service dog." So I learned my lesson right quick.
Yeah.
But I think we fell in love with them the first visit, and we've been a sponsor ever since. It takes $22,000 to train one of those dogs, and we sponsor 2 dogs a year now. And this is one of our favorite charities.
Right. And that goes to our for our wounded veterans. Is that
Wounded veterans, yes.
Yeah.
Still
You know, I sponsored legislation. I was in the state Senate about those dogs because they couldn't take them in like they can, the seeing eye dogs. They're specifically in the law that they could take dogs like that into restaurants and other things. And I remember the day I brought them in, chairman was a guy named Jerry Cooper. And I looked down on the list, and I was close to the bottom. And so the guy said, "Hey, dog was getting a little antsy. I'm going to take him out. He needs to go to the bathroom." And I remember it was raining that day down in Nashville, and he took him out. And then about that time, Jerry Cooper said, "Senator Burchett, you got a group here. We want you to get up early, get the bill up early." And of course, my dog had gone out to, as I said, water the lawn. And I told the chairman, I said, "Mr. Chairman, my witness is out using the bathroom in our front lawn." And everybody laughed. And of course, they thought it was going to be hotly contested. But as you well know, most people in Tennessee love our veterans. And so that bill sailed through. And I remember the chairman said, "That's not the first time that one of your witnesses has been out watering the lawn, Burchett." So everybody laughed, and we passed that bill unanimous. So that was a real coup, I thought. But
some of these veterans have PTSD, and this is the only thing that keeps them going. It's a big deal.
Yeah, well, Daddy was in the Second World War, and to the day he died, we never woke him up except by his big toe because, he was a dean at UT, but if he woke up, he'd tell him where he thought he was or something. And he talked about his buddies that come back, and, they didn't do anything for him, give him a shot of morphine or something, and stick them on a boat back home. And these guys come back now, and they're shattered lives. And it's wonderful that you do that for them. I think that is incredible. But anyway, I guess we're at the end of this thing, Mr. Weigel. Is there anything that you'd like to ask me?
Yes, I would like to ask you if you can support us on these credit card fees. There's no competition for Visa and MasterCard. And we would love to have, as an industry, some competition. We don't want any favors. We just want competition, because competition is the reason you have low prices. With no competition, there's no reason to have a price. So those prices go up. All we want is some competition. So we're trying to get a bill now that will allow us, a competitive person, to deal against them. And that will change their credit card fees, we hope.
Is there any model legislation that's out there that we can?
Oh, that's being put together right now by both parties. It's a bipartisan deal. Everybody's affected by these credit card fees. The customer doesn't realize they're paying these fees when they buy something. But as you know, they've doubled. And so we're all affected, the customers and the businesses. So that will be presented in the next few months.
Okay. Can somebody get me a copy of that? I'll send it probably. All right. Thank you, Mr. Weigel. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you coming on the show and just being a great corporate citizen to East Tennessee and looking after our veterans and those poor folks. Cause that's, and Salvation Army, they're tops. Their people I don't know if you know anything about them or not. They don't make any money compared to some of these other charities. And they seem to be the ones that do the lifting. So,
yeah, every penny goes, very few pennies go to operations. The most goes to the person in need. And thank you, Tim, for supporting our veterans, Salvation Army, and all of us in East Tennessee. You have our values, and we're proud of you. Well,
thank you, Mr. Weigel. And I'll just quit on that, but they give me this thing to read here at the end, so I'll just read it real quick. I'm Congressman Tim Burchett, as many of y'all know, and I want to thank y'all for listening to this episode of Tennessee Talks. And please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or on my official YouTube channel. And if you're a little older than me and don't know what that is, ask your daughter, your 14-year-old daughter, which I'll have to do, and she'll embarrass me and show me how to do all that stuff. And Mr. Weigel, I'm sure you've got kids and grandkids that can embarrass you on the computer as well.
Very much so. Very much so. Thanks again, Tim.
Thank y'all for joining us.
Good to talk to you, as always.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Tennessee Talks. Please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Keep up with Congressman Burchett by following @Rep Tim Burchett on Twitter and Instagram, and @Congressman Tim Burchett on Facebook and YouTube.